Hi everyone! I was really worried if I wasted the whole month on the last video, so I'm relieved you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Oh, what I'm making this time? I made a marking gauge and a marking knife. They are actually giveaways for one lucky person. Let's see how I made them. So, yeah, these are the kits I will use and I paid for them out of my own pocket. I made the same marking knife a few years ago and it's my favorite. I actually tried some Japanese marking knife too, but so far I always end up using this Narex one. Anyways, I found this piece of maple at the bottom of my offcut box. When it comes to a handle, the smoothness of the maple surface is nice and comfortable. And then I'm resawing a piece of zebra wood with my dozuki. That is because I haven't changed the blade for about 2 years and it's losing its sharpness. I'm just pushing it to its absolute limit before I replace the blade, and I clean the surface with a plane. It's actually quite difficult to plane a piece this small. But then, again, if it's a big board, it's physically tough, so I guess that's just how it goes. Moving on to the marking knife, I used my thickness jig to get it to a uniform thickness. I will round it later with sandpaper, so it doesn't have to be perfectly accurate at this stage. However, when you only use hand tools to make something round, measuring and shaping carefully at every step is what keeps the proportion looking nice. This includes the chamfering process too. Doing this carefully will make the final product look much less amateur. After that, I drew the holes for the pins and it was time for glue. Now these are size L to XL gloves, but my hands are big, so they are quite tight. Do you know any good comfy gloves for large hands? I mean, my hands are large in general, but the thing is, they are also meaty. Okay, once the epoxy dried and I trimmed off the excess pins, I did the pinning. Because the epoxy seeps into the holes, the brass pins don't close up the gap all the way. If you know the correct way to install the pins, please let me know. Either way, judging by the marking knife I use now, I don't think it will cause any problems in terms of using it. For the marking gauge, I glued the zebra wood onto the maple body and then sanded the face. This face will be a reference to finish the other edges, so I ensured it's flat. Next, I needed to drill the required holes, and I referred to the plan provided on the Taytools product page for the hole sizes. However, for the main rod, I used the 5/16 of an inch bit because it fits better than the suggested 8mm bit. Now for the scary part, drilling the hole for the insert nut. I was supposed to use a 3/8 of an inch bit, but based on my experience, I used a 10mm bit, which is slightly bigger. This hole doesn't actually go all the way through to the center hole. Instead, I had to drill a 6mm hole inside of the 10mm hole to reach the center. Since I don't have a drill press to align the center perfectly, I actually used the 7mm bit just to be safe. Anyways, it seems like it turned out okay. Next is the insert nut. I bought a specialized bit to drive it in because I use this size of insert nut quite often. The great thing about this bit is that its outer diameter is exactly half an inch, so I can use a drill guide to make sure it goes in perpendicularly. Once the nut was in, I resurfaced the face of the marking gauge. Sometimes inserting the nut can push the wood out and create a small bump on the surface. If you use Japanese planes, you know how you have to adjust the saw when setting the blade. And this is the exact same logic. Finally, I trimmed the edge to establish a specific orientation for using the gauge. My drilled hole isn't perfectly accurate, but as long as you always use the marking gauge in the same orientation, it is much less likely to cause an error. It's almost there, so I gently sanded the marking knife. I wanted to round it for comfort, yet keep it somewhat square so it doesn't roll off the workbench. Then, for the marking gauge, I just rounded the sharp edges. I also gave it the light sanding all over with 400 grade sandpaper. For the finish, I used dry and true varnish oil on the marking gauge. However, since the marking knife will need to be sharpened, I used Tru-Oil by Birchwood KC on it for better durability. And here are the final products. I left the screw uncut so you can cut it, or if you are not happy with the accuracy of this marking gauge, I included another insert nut so you can make your own one too. For the marking knife, the thing I can tell you is, this will work for sure. I have the same thing and it's been my favorite ever since I made it. Okay, so if you don't win it, I also have my top 3 selling eco bags to give away, which are actually the only 3 eco bags I have anyway. I can't guarantee which one you'll get, but please check the description for how to enter. Once again, thank you so much for supporting me as always. This is the best I can do for now, and that's it for today. See you!